There's a new stud in town. What'd you hear about him? Well, they said that he's big and strong and good looking.
Gotta get your act together.
Harder, stronger, harder, stronger, harder, stronger.
Hairy, sweaty, macho.
Real physical strength. He'll never stop.
It's probably one of the better health and fitness podcasts on the planet. It's very little efforts put into it, into kind of promoting it. So you get like you're in on this cult thing. The reason I say it's better than most is because I'm eloquent, charismatic, and well informed, and also I only talk about relevant and important stuff. I don't give a shit about what is hip and what is kind of trending. Speaking of only talking about important shit, I want to talk to you about intensity of exercise and how meaningful it could be, especially for fat loss, okay? I am going to combine the bro stuff with the actual science to bring you something that I think is useful and relevant. Here we go. Okay, I always talk about, and also people in the know that I surround myself with are always talking about intensity of exercise. There needs to be a relationship, a kind of inversely proportionate relationship of intensity and volume. The more intense your training is, the less you can do it, less frequently, and for a shorter duration of time, right? And that's not that crazy to understand. But how does one go? Ginny behind me. Ginny Weasley behind me. How does one go about maximizing and optimizing the intensity of exercise? Well, here we go. First study I have here is from the journal PLOS 1. They took two groups and they separated them by one group just taking their normal 8-hour seated workday, and they equated both the output and the intake of calories on both groups. This was completely controlled. It's a very good study. And this group, they just did 1 hour of intense exercise for them, proportionate to the person, for 1 hour, but their daily sedentary 8 hours a day sitting on their booty did not change. The other group didn't do any exercise. They just cut their amount of sedentary time in half. And what they did was they gave these people who work in sedentary lifestyles standing desks, and then they encouraged them to walk, and they kind of monitored the amount of steps that they got. And they just did daily activity and walking for a certain amount. No exercise, no actual formal exercise. Okay? The group that did no exercise, that did not do any high intensity exercise, had better metabolic markers, and there was zero actual difference in insulin sensitivity from both groups. Now that was, even though I've been a big fan and I always encourage people who are my clients will tell you, I always encourage people to just, dude, you don't need to, harder is not necessarily always better. More is not always better. More intense is not always better. Just get out, stay active. Just don't sit on your ass very much. Walk a lot, kind of brisk walking combined with just daily activity. It is all the actual supplemental exercise that you need on top of your resistance training. Look, that same thing doesn't go for high intensity athletes or high output athletes. There needs to be a certain level of VO2 max manipulation, things like that, for people who are playing basketball, football, wrestling, fill in the blank. Talking about everyday people, all of us, me, you, that just want to look better and feel better. There was another study that kind of supported this, supported my take on it. And of course, I'm cherry picking studies that make me look good. This is from the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health. They took athletes, highly trained athletes, and active people, active regular people, and completely inactive people. They found that there was an immense metabolic and health benefit by different blood markers, A1C, insulin sensitivity, blood sugar, blah, 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 blood pressure. There was a significant overall health and metabolic benefit to very infrequent 2 times per week high intensity exercise where they were increasing VO2 max to a considerable degree. Now, what does this tell us? What does this tell us overall? What is the Reader's Digest version? What is the Cliff Notes? It means that, as I have been promoting for a long time, if you really want to get the most out of your training from an aesthetic standpoint and from a health benefit standpoint, what you need to do is do a lot of very low level kind of zone 1, zone 2 work. All day, every day. 7 days a week. Just try to stay active. Keep your heart pumping at a pretty low, above just sitting on your ass pace. Go for walks. Go for hikes. Try to stand up at work. If you're someone who works in front of a computer or sits at a desk, set timers every couple hours. Just get 10 minutes and just get out there. Swing your arms and move. Nothing where you are breathing very heavy, where you have to get into an anaerobic standpoint. But do that as much as you possibly can. I don't see any fucking limit. I don't care if you're 85 years old. If you can walk 20,000 steps a day and it doesn't bother you, that's actually probably pretty awesome. I don't care. Just, there's no limit. Start with what you can do consistently and do it all day, every day for as much as you can. I understand. I would like to work really hard to keep my lifestyle, keep myself in perspective when it comes to giving advice, because look, I don't want to be some authority figure. I understand most people have jobs where they work and they have obligations where they have to sit on their ass. I get that. I don't have that. And I do feel fortunate in that regard. But a lot of you have very good jobs, very meaningful jobs that force you to sit on your ass. I understand that. All I'm saying is if you could, and nowadays with phones and Bluetooth and earbuds and all that shit, it does seem pretty reasonable, no matter what your job is, that you could schedule in 10-minute walks, 5-minute walks frequently throughout the day. Every couple hours you're doing your work, you're grinding. It would probably help your performance at work. Because there's a pretty ample and conclusive scientific proof to show that if you were to get out, get some sunlight or connect with nature, get some fresh air, and move your body, elevate your heart rate a little bit, it's going to improve mental acuity. Okay? And also sense of happiness and well-being. That's going to increase performance at any job. You do that as much as you can, and then 2 to 3 times a week, to whatever level it is relevant to you, you go with the high intensity exercise training. I definitely recommend some form of resistance training that really pushes you. And you try to, as Greg Doucette says, get stronger, get better every time. Every time you go in, it's harder. And you just really push yourself. 20, 30 minutes. If you're extremely strong, if you're extremely well trained, if you have a lengthy experience in fitness, 45 minutes to an hour, I understand. But 3 times a week. I lift weights 3 or 4, just small amounts of the year. I work out 4 days a week, but usually I'm just pumping iron 3 days a week, sometimes 2. And I make sure that I relegate it to really effective, very difficult compound movements, and I push myself and I try to get stronger. Day into even my old ass. And it's something that you can do consistently. These studies show it, and then also anecdotal evidence from bros like me and other people I know. You will burn yourself out. There is no way you can consistently go to the gym 6 days a week, 5 days a week, doing double splits, training everything over the top, with over the top volume. Unless you're getting a paycheck, you're not going to do it. And even people who are getting paychecks don't necessarily need to do that. Okay? Don't get confused into thinking that complication is somehow beneficial. Complexity is not superior. Things that you do day in and day out with consistency and effort and focus are going to be better. So, day in and day out, again, let me point out to the Journal of PLOS1 and also the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, both doing great studies that are actually meaningful and in kind of a controlled setting. It showed that very infrequent, 2 times per week in the study, pushing of yourself to increase VO2 max, doing high intensity training very infrequently, 2 times a week in the study. I'm saying 2 or 3 times a week. You do that 20, 30 minutes, 3 times a week, 2 times a week, push yourself, go balls to the wall. And also day in and day out, every single day, make sure that you are staying mobile, you're staying active and not being very sedentary. I understand people's occupations can make them sedentary, but try not to. Try to schedule in what you can. Stan Efferding had pointed something out to me that I've always kept in mind, and I've started to practice. I do a 10-minute walk after I eat. 3 times a day, I do a 10-minute walk postprandial, which means right after you eat. Helps with my blood sugar, helps with my health. But also, he pointed out that 30 minutes a day, 7 days a week, that's 210 minutes. That's a lot. That's 3 hours a week of cardio without doing any cardio. And it doesn't kind of drain on me mentally. and hurt me because I don't have to drive to the gym and get on a treadmill or get on a bike and feel like an asshole. And I don't like it. But I do. I really like getting out in nature and walking for 10 minutes. It's something I look forward. I don't look at it as a chore. It's become something I really look forward to, and it has helped me in quality of life, and it's definitely helped my physique. So do that all day, every day, as much as you can. Low-level activity, zone 1, zone 2. Very infrequently, high-intensity exercise. Now, you may be asking yourself why. Here's the best way to sum it up. Think about trying to drive a bolt into a big, thick piece of wood, okay? Or concrete, even. You can't just take the bolt and screw it in with your impact driver or with a ratchet. You need a drill to go and get it started so that you can drive it in. Okay? Does that make sense? For those of you, even if you don't have a lot of experience with, it's not like I'm some master contractor, but if you don't have experience with like really hard surfaces, let's say some type of metal, concrete, or really hard wood, you're going to put in a bolt or a hook or something like that. You need a drill first to drill that hole in so that you can then kind of thread in the bolt or the screw. Think of your very infrequent but very intense high intensity exercise that you're doing twice or 3 times a week. That is the drill. Okay? The kind of threading or screwing in of that bolt, that is your daily walking. That is your low-level activity, the hikes and the house chores and everything. Just staying active, staying on your feet. You don't need a lot of drilling, but you do need it to make everything effective. That drilling, okay, that infrequent high-intensity exercise is actually raising your capacity to make that low-level everyday stuff more effective from a metabolic and from a health standpoint, okay? So there you go. Very infrequent high-intensity exercise twice, 3 times a week. Every single day, very low level, just stay moving kind of stuff. The drill, you can't just do the low level stuff. You can if you're very overweight or if you're new to exercising, and anything's better than nothing. But to be truly optimal and effective, you need that infrequent but very, very exerting kind of raising of your VO2 max so that you can make that low level stuff more effective. So think of it like you can't just take a piece of slab of concrete and then take a bolt and screw it in. You could do that all day. It won't actually puncture in. But if you have a drill and just for real quick, now you can thread that thing through and it makes it all more effective. Okay? So there you go. Like, subscribe, do all that shit because I need the help, believe me. Also, if you're looking for more detailed assistance, my Patreon is available for you. Also, I have my own program at Train Heroic. It's called the Apex Program. It's pretty sick. It's pretty dope. Go check it out if you're interested. And in this crazy mixed up world that makes you think that nobody cares, remember, I do be good.